Hi everyone, you've finally made it to the S in DIDLS, and that is syntax. So first of all, pause the video. What does DIDLS stand for? Hopefully you got these 5 things: diction, images and imagery, details, language, and finally syntax. And we're going to get to syntax today. So syntax, in the most basic of terms, is the way words are arranged in a sentence. You're going to look at 5 different things: sentence parts, the word order, sentence length, punctuation, and sentence types. So let's look at sentence parts first and foremost. Often you will see a subject, and this is the noun that the sentence is about. Don't worry, an example is coming very, very shortly. Then you've got verbs, and these are actions or states of being of the subject, which is the noun that the sentence is about. Then you've got a sentence clause, which is a phrase with a subject and a predicate. And don't worry, I'm about to explain what a predicate is. Then you've got predicates, and these are the parts of the sentences that contain the verbs. Finally, you might want to look at fragments, and this is kind of a sentence wannabe, which doesn't have an independent clause. So this is a sentence clause. I've identified for you guys the following things. The subject is the squiggly line right here, and that's the hero. The hero rescued the crowd. The subject is the noun that the sentence is about. Then you've got the verb, and the verb is rescued, okay? And that is the action or state of being of the subject, who is the hero. Finally, the predicate is the lassoed part of the sentence, rescued the crowd. The hero rescued the crowd. In this 5-word sentence, we've got a subject, a verb, and a predicate. We're going to move on to word order. In normal word order, in English anyways, you've got the subject, first and foremost, followed by the verb and other details. So in this same example, you can see that the hero is the first part, the subject, and then you've got rescued the crowd. That's the verb and other details. That's the regular word order in English. But if you change the word order, you can change the meaning of sentences. So here's a sentence where the only word that moves is only. And I want you to take a look at the different meanings that this produces. First example, Jim said that he drives only a truck. This means he drives nothing else. Second example, Jim said that only he drives the truck. So no one else drives a truck. Third example, Jim only said that he drives a truck. So that means he probably doesn't really drive a truck. And the final example, only Jim said that he drives a truck. So no one else said it. We've moved this one word throughout the sentence, and it's produced 4 very different meanings. So we take a look here. This is where the subject appears. And again, it's not necessarily the normal word order, but it is Yoda's style, so we'll let him go forward with it. Next, let's look at sentence length. So writers have to vary sentence length in order to do the following things. First of all, keep their readers interested. And second of all, control what the readers pay attention to. So here's a great example of that. The sentence has 5 words by Gary Provost. The sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands some variety. Now listen. I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music. The writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences. And I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes, when I am certain the reader is rested, I will engage him or her with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So that is sentence length. Let's move on to punctuation. Punctuation actually does save lives. So let's eat grandma translates to let's actually eat grandma versus let's eat, comma, grandma when you're talking to your grandma. So next time, if you do or don't know how to use punctuation, remember that it does save lives. It also helps us understand the written word. In speech, we pause and we use expression in our voices and on our faces to help the listener understand us, but writing has to depend on punctuation. It doesn't have our voice and our face to accompany the words. So I want you to pause the video as the information appears for each of the following slides, just to make sure after I've spoken you fully understand all of the information. We're going to look at the semicolon, the colon, the dash, as well as italics. So first, the semicolon. What the semicolon does, it joins two or more clauses when there's no connecting word, such as and, but, or. So when a semicolon is used, all clauses are equally important, and the reader should pay equal attention to all of the clauses that are used. An example of this, he is my best friend, semicolon. I've known him most of my life. So in these two things, that semicolon identifies that both are equally important. So you can pause the video right here just to review this particular slide before moving on to the colon. Now we've got the colon, and this means that something important will follow that punctuation. So it's a little different from the semicolon because the colon throws the emphasis onto what comes after it. So here's the example right here. He is my best friend, colon. He helps me through hard times and celebrates good times with me. So he is my best friend is the less important. The more important clause here is he helps me through hard times and celebrates good times with me. That's what the author wants you to focus on. So again, just like with the semicolon slide, pause here until you understand everything on this slide before moving on to the dash. Here we've got the dash, and what this does, it marks a sudden change in thought or sets off a summary. So an example, John, dash, my best friend, dash, lives right down the street. So it adds a bit of information right there. It's that sudden change in thought or a further explanation or sets off that summary. Finally, we've got italics. And italics are used for emphasis. They should be used sparingly if you're not comfortable with them, but they can be very effective pieces of punctuation. An example of this, of all the people I've ever known, John is my best friend. So again, we use punctuation here because if someone was saying this in writing, you wouldn't see on their face and you wouldn't hear in their voice the emphasis placed on the word ever. And so we use italics to place that emphasis there. So you can pause again, and until you've understood everything on this slide, don't move on. Let's go into sentence types now. There are 4 different kinds of sentence types. You've got declarative, and this is a sentence that makes a statement. Right over here, it's raining outside. He's simply saying, it's raining outside. That's the statement used there. Second sentence type is interrogative, and this is a sentence that asks a question. Right down here, what's up? Usually followed by a question mark. Imperative sentences are sentences that give commands. So over here we've got this imperative sentence, clean your fishbowl, and usually they're followed by an exclamation mark. I'll just add the question mark right there. And finally, exclamatory sentences. They are sentences that express strong feelings. I love chicken legs. And you can see right here as well, the use of punctuation. There are 2 exclamation marks, so it really is exclaiming something. And that is the different kinds of sentence types. So to summarize, all this stuff about syntax. First of all, look at the parts of the sentence and the word order. Then look at the sentence length and its effect on the intended message. Then look at punctuation and the message it conveys. And finally, look at the type of sentences that are used. All of this can lead you to understanding the intended tone of the writer. Thanks, everyone.